want to start by saying that this land is on Treaty Number 1 territory, traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, and Dakota, and the heart of the Métis Nation. Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemot lachen samach libi Vayagel kevodi abisari yishkon lavetach ki lo tazov nafshi lishol lo titen chasidecha lirot shachat todieni orachayim sova simachot etanecha neimot bimincha netzach. That was from Psalm 116. Good morning, my name is Richard Yaffe. Pat was my first cousin. I'm honored to officiate today as we pay tribute to Patricia Lois Kettner. Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you to all of you who are watching the live stream of the service. That includes Pat's son Gary and his wife Fatima, Pat's grandson Adam, whose presence so unfortunately isn't possible as a result of the current travel restrictions. Pat passed away on Thursday, June 11th, at the age of 92. She was predeceased by her husband Paul Kettner in 2012, by her parents Max and Rose Waterman, and by her younger brother, Danny Waterman. She was the loving and much-loved mother of Gary Kettner and Fatima Ashkan, of Brooklyn, New York, of Sean Kettner and Peter Harrison, and of Beth Kettner. Pat was the adoring grandmother of Samantha, Max and Phoebe, Adam, and Leah, in whose lives she was very much involved and always took genuine interest. Pat also leaves many admiring friends and family members, including nephews, nieces, and cousins. Pat's mother, Rose, was the eldest Wolfson child, and Pat really was the matriarch of our generation of Wolfsons. Many of us looked upon our senior cousin as a symbol of the transition from our parents' generation to our own, opening our eyes to the evolution of the culture and ethos of the second half of the 20th century. Pat didn't shy away from change, but instead embraced it, all the while maintaining the most important simple and traditional values, including the centrality in life of family. For For many years, the Kettner home at 837 Airlies was the venue for our extended family Hanukkah dinners and other celebrations, the walls of the house covered with Pat's canvases. One of Pat's paintings, done in the mid-1940s and given to my parents, was and continues to be deeply treasured. It always had a place of prominence in our family home, and then later in our mother's condominium. Pat's daughters, Sean and Beth, will be speaking in a few minutes about their mom. At a service honoring a Jewish woman, the passage to which we often default is Eshet Chayil from Proverbs. The Hebrew Eshet Chayil, or in Yiddish Eshet Chayil, translates to a woman of valor. Some feminists have challenged the relevance of the prayer, which praises the woman as wife and homemaker, and emphasizes her value to her husband and children. But the passage really is equally powerful in extolling the virtues of compassion, strength of character, commitment, gentleness, and independence, that I think very much captures the essence of Pat. A woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Sabbath candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. I'm now going to ask Beth to speak.
So nice to be, surrounded with friends and family. Here. I'd like to read an excerpt from a message from our cousin Yapi. He writes, "It is truly the end of an era. Pat played a very special role in my life. She really was a bridge between my parents' generation and my own. I first remember her as Auntie Pat in that, as a little kid, she was much older, an adult who often took care of me when my mother was not well, or just to give my parents a break. But of course, she and your dad were modern and a lot more fun to hang out with than my parents. We were always inspired by her talent, her energy, and the fact that she had successfully pursued and achieved a career in architecture, very much a man's world, and then as an artist. Clearly this took a lot of determination in addition to the hard work. And she was always very humble and unassuming about her achievements, preferring to talk about ideas rather than about herself. She was also a wonderful niece and friend to Pearl. She brought a younger, fresher perspective into her life, and my mother adored her. Thank you, Martin and Robin. We are touched by your thoughts. As I've been thinking about Mom for the last few days and months, there are certain thoughts and images that keep recurring. Many of my thoughts are about my mom's artistic influence on me. One of my favorite memories is of being in the car with her when I was quite young, and her asking me what colors I see in the clouds. This was such a foundational lesson in looking at the world with an artist's eye. An even earlier art-related memory from the age of 3 is her frequently giving me pencil and paper and asking me to draw her. On the day she died, I was thinking about that. So I picked up pencil and paper and drew her one more time, connecting one of my first remembered experiences with her to one of my last. Some of the other vivid memories that come to mind are Mom up on the sailboat trapeze while crewing for Dad. Mom coming home from an early morning round of golf before I was even out of bed. Mom doing handstands and teddy bear stands against the wall and sitting on the floor wrapping her leg behind her neck. Mom at the drafting table drawing up whatever architectural plans the family needed, whether it was an addition to the cottage, a new building for Dad's business, or a new layout for someone's kitchen. Mom having her power nap between working at her studio and making supper. Mom making sure there was always homemade cake in the cake saver and that somehow it was okay to have coffee cake for breakfast. Mom packing corned beef sandwiches for our family fishing trips. Mom washing my hair so carefully when I was little so as to not get shampoo in my eyes. Mom going back to university in her 40s to take fine arts. Mom attending university lectures even in her 60s. So many things that my mom did influenced my life, and I know they will continue to do so. I'll miss you, Mom.
My mom, our mom, your baba, your cousin, your aunt, your sister-in-law, your friend, Pat. When I think about my mom, I remember her as the person who was always up first and last to bed. She had lots to do and hated to miss doing anything. She was determined, decisive, and driven. One of my favorite stories is from her days at the farm out in Rumsey, Alberta. Her then 10 and 12-year-old aunts Leah Sheps and Pearl Yaffe, then Wolfsons, and a neighboring girlfriend, Lil Simpkin, were learning to play bridge, and they needed a fourth. Mum was 6, an unbelievable young age for bridge. But Mum was smart and willing, and so it began. For 86 years, bridge played a huge role in her life. I imagine as a little girl, it would have been a thrill to have been invited to the table. Throughout her life, it was a central part of her social world. The game brought the family together not only on the farm, but any time and anywhere. If there were 4 in the room, there was a game. Bridge was the foundation for the circle of her closest friends. Some of them are here with us, some are watching from home, and some are sadly gone. They started playing together when my mom was in her mid-20s. The bridge ladies met every Tuesday, period, always. It was how we knew the days of the week. But the bridge group was about much more than bridge. It was about lifelong friendship, about sharing life's joys and celebrations, and being there for each other through life's many challenges. In her final years, as her world shrunk, when she gave up the house and moved from the North End so she could be closer to our dad, Paul, she still held on to her bridge games. She found new players at the Parkway who she loved playing with. Get out of her way if there was a bridge game to be found. But it was getting together with Gladys, Nora, Laura, Zell, and our niece, and her friends from the old bridge club that was the highlight of the week. A subset of the bridge group were my parents' closest friends. Rarely did a weekend go by that the gang wasn't out socializing. Parties were a regular event, from basement dance classes to skit nights on New Year's Eve to barbecues at Falcon Lake or cross-country ski trips. We kids called them aunt and uncle and considered their children cousins, many of us spending summers together. Mom and Dad were married for 64 years. Together they raised a family and made a home. They shared a life full of love and adventure that included fencing, bridge, fishing, badminton, dancing, sailing, art lessons, golfing, skating, cross-country skiing, water skiing, swimming, exploring the back roads of Manitoba and Mexico, building a house and a cottage, and traveling to 5 continents. They shared a love of opera, martinis, and cigarettes. My mom became very close to her in-laws, Cora and Ben, and good friends with Sylvia, Saul, David, Hillary, and Diane. She was very close to her parents, Max and Rose, and her brother Danny and sister-in-law Roz. Regular family dinners brought everyone from both sides of the family together. We grew up congregating every Friday or Sunday, or sometimes both, for dinners at the grandparents' with aunts and uncles and cousins. There were huge meals, lots of noise, and lots of good times. When our babas could no longer handle the work, Mum pitched in. She designed the house on Airlies for entertaining, and she certainly did a lot of that. She orchestrated frequent family gatherings, holiday celebrations, and numerous cocktail parties. Mum felt close with the extended family across the country and worked hard to maintain relations. She was not at all religious, but she felt deeply connected to her Jewish heritage and ensured that it was passed on to her children. But if somebody asked me about my mother, it wouldn't be the mum stuff that would come to mind. Mum was so brave. As a young woman, she was a pioneer in her profession. It was an exciting time in the field. The School of Architecture in Winnipeg was the center of modernism in Canada, and Mum immersed herself in the movement. I was also so proud to be able to say my mum was an architect and that she designed the amazing house that we grew up in. How brave it was for her to go back to university in her mid-40s and become a full-time artist. I was so proud that she was an artist and that she traveled to Japan for 6 weeks to study printmaking shortly after having both hips replaced. and that she painted in her Exchange District studios full-time until she was almost 80. Many mornings she was up early to head to the pool or play a round of golf long before any of us were out of bed. She organized our lives and provided for our needs, and then she was off to paint. In the winter, she loved to cross-country ski, often heading to Little Mountain Park after a day at the studio. She lived a privileged life, but she understood the value of things. She taught us not to waste, to think before we bought, to make thoughtful choices. She designed the house with a sensitivity to its environmental impact, and that was a huge influence on my life. Mom was a role model, a trailblazer in many ways, a modern woman ahead of her time. She was a progressive, a feminist, and fiercely independent, and she passed these values on to me. She will be missed.
I'm going to ask the pallbearers, please, to move toward the hearse and bring the basket. El Malay Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Chametzei Menucha Nechona תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת פשליה בת מרדכי וחשה רחל שהלכה לעולמה בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים בצרור החיים את נשמתה בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר amen. Grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to our loved one, Patricia Lois, Pesha Leah, daughter of Mordechai and Chasha Rachel, who has entered eternity. Let her find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Is her inheritance, may she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please join me in the Mortar's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach li'alma u'ma'mei u'ma'yah Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmed kudsha richu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran yalma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Thank you all for joining us here, and thank you to those of you who have watched the live stream.
I know this is so weird because we can't gather and go back and hang out together. And I think the live stream, I don't know if it's still on or not. But if anybody wants to say anything about Mom or have a favorite moment that they want, I know we didn't ask anybody or tell anybody beforehand, but normally we would go back home and then we would all hang out together and chat. So if anybody has anything that they want to say or to add, or it would be lovely. But if not, thank you all for coming and being with us here today.
Yeah, oh yeah.